Love after 60 carries a different weight, a different energy, and a different truth. Older men don't choose women based on the things we used to think mattered. They choose women who bring up 5 deep, powerful feelings that either make him fall in love with you or make him drift away. I'm truly grateful you're here with me today. I want to open a gentle, honest conversation about love in our later years and why certain women leave a quiet but unforgettable mark on a man's heart long after the moment has passed. It's never about beauty anymore. It's about something much more lasting, something that lingers long after looks fade. At this stage in life, love has grown up. It no longer needs to shout or compete. It doesn't rush or try to impress anyone. Instead, it arrives softly, without drama, and stays because it feels right. For most older men, what makes a woman unforgettable has very little to do with charm or youth. What draws him in is how he feels around her. It's a handful of rare emotional experiences that speak directly to the soul. These feelings make a man sense, without any explanation, that this woman is different. She stands apart in a quiet way. These aren't things you can measure or prove, but they linger in him long after the dinner is over, long after the first few conversations fade into memory. That's why in this video, I want to share 5 deep truths most people never talk about when it comes to love after 60, yet every older man recognizes them instantly. If you've ever wondered what men over 60 are genuinely searching for, or how real connection happens when life has already taught you so much, then this is truly for you. And before we move forward, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe to channel, where we explore the quiet realities of love, companionship, and what truly matters as we grow older. Let's begin with the first feeling that anchors a man's heart in this stage of life. There is something deeply comforting, almost sacred, about a woman who doesn't make a man feel like he has to prove anything. Not his past, not his value, not his strength, not even his story. After 60, most men have carried decades of responsibility. We've worn the masks we needed to: provider, protector, the one who holds everything together. But something happens when we sit across from someone who doesn't expect those masks. A small breath escapes, a quiet release. It's more than comfort, it's emotional safety. It's the sense that he can finally put his armor down without being judged for it. And when a man feels that he can simply exist as himself, nothing more, nothing less, it awakens something deep inside him. It reminds him of who he is beneath the layers of duty and expectation. I'm reminded of my neighbor Harold, a gentleman who lost his wife to cancer in his early 60s. For a few years, he kept himself busy gardening, volunteering, playing cards at the community center. But you could always see a certain stiffness in his shoulders, that quiet heaviness men carry when they've forgotten how to be soft, when they no longer remember what it feels like to be understood without effort. Then one spring, he met Lillian. She wasn't flashy. She didn't try to stand out. When she spoke, her words had space around them, like she wasn't rushing to fill the air. They met in a watercolor class, week after week, and slowly, something in Harold loosened. His posture softened. He began showing up earlier and staying longer. One afternoon he told me, "She makes me feel like I don't have to be anyone except Harold." That was all he said, but it said everything. That feeling, emotional ease, is powerful. It tells a man he is enough not because of what he has done in his life, but because of who he is in this moment. Most dating advice never mentions this, but I'll tell you the truth. It matters more to an older man than attraction. Because when he finds emotional safety with a woman, he remembers it. He values it deeply because he knows how rare and how real it is. When we talk about dating after 60, or what truly anchors a man's heart, this is where it begins. Not with sparks, not with perfect looks, not with big gestures. It begins with peace, with the quiet gift of presence, with the feeling of being welcomed instead of evaluated. But connection isn't always quiet. Some women don't just give a man peace. They awaken something that has been asleep inside him for years. And that brings us to the second feeling, one that pulls him in a completely different way. Some women don't only offer calmness, they stir something forgotten inside a man. They bring back a sense of inner spark, a reminder that life still has warmth and color. This kind of spark is not about physical desire or youthful excitement. It's about emotional aliveness. It's a feeling that makes a man remember that he is still capable of joy, curiosity, wonder, and hope. There's a line from the French writer Albert Camus that I've carried for years. In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. That is exactly what this feeling is. It's the presence of a woman who wakes up a part of him he thought was gone. By the time we reach our 60s and beyond, many men become steady but quiet, responsible but worn. We know how to endure things, how to handle challenges, how to keep moving, but we don't always know how to light up anymore. Sometimes it takes one specific person, one gentle presence, to wake that part of him back up. It doesn't come from big energy or dramatic personality. It comes from something simpler, the way her presence feels alive, as if she sees the world with an open heart, the way she listens fully when he speaks, the way she laughs softly or asks a thoughtful question that makes him reflect. It's not about being exciting, it's about being awake to life. For a man over 60, meeting a woman who brings that sense of aliveness back into his world feels like rediscovering a forgotten part of his identity. He starts noticing little things again: colors, smells, music, conversations. He becomes more present, more aware, more hopeful. It's like someone quietly turned the lights back on inside him. He may not say it out loud, but he feels it deeply, and that feeling alone can make a woman unforgettable. You see, for many older men, what draws them in isn't noise or excitement. It's a kind of quiet vitality, not the restless energy of a 20-year-old, but the gentle brightness of a woman who is still deeply alive inside. A woman who hasn't allowed her inner light to fade even when life tried to dim it. It's not about hobbies or trips or crossing things off a bucket list. It's about the way she makes the plain moments feel a little less dull, how even silence feels warm when she's nearby. In the world of dating advice for seniors, people forget this part. They talk about routines, shared lifestyles, and compromise, and yes, those things matter. But what a man remembers, what keeps pulling him back, is how she made him feel alive again in ways he assumed were gone forever. There's a Japanese idea called ikigai. It loosely means a reason for being, and sometimes a woman becomes part of that reason, not because she tries, but because her presence lights up a part of him he thought had gone dark. So if you're wondering what truly touches a man's heart later in life, it's this: not only comfort, but a quiet sense of aliveness, a feeling that color has returned to a world that had grown a little gray. And it makes me wonder if anyone has ever awakened that spark in you, or if you've unknowingly done that for someone else. Share your story in the comments. I truly believe those reflections keep this space honest and alive. But as powerful as energy can be, there's another feeling that's even more grounding than spark, more stabilizing than excitement, and that's where we're going now. What if the moment a man truly falls for a woman isn't when she smiles or lightly touches his hand, but when she hears something unfiltered from him and doesn't turn away? There is a quiet strength in a woman who helps a man feel safe enough to tell the truth. Not the polished version, not the practiced stories, but the real parts. The regrets, the doubts, the softer pieces he rarely shows. By the time a man reaches his 60s, he knows he can't rewrite the past. What happened has happened. The losses, the choices, the missed chances, they're part of him now. And even with acceptance, there is still a quiet wish to be held as he is, without having to defend or hide anything. That is where emotional trust begins. It doesn't form in one dramatic moment. It grows through small things. The way she listens without judging, the way she doesn't pull back when he's being vulnerable, The way her silence feels like space instead of distance. A few years ago, I met a man named Charles, a widower in his early 70s. His marriage had been long but quiet, the kind where everything was handled and stable, yet not much was shared deeply. After his wife passed, he started feeling something many older men never admit out loud: loneliness, even when he wasn't alone. Then one evening, he met a woman named Mallory at a simple backyard dinner hosted by a mutual friend. Nothing dramatic happened, just easy conversation over grilled fish and folding chairs. But later, Charles told me something I never forgot. He said, "I didn't fall for her because of what we talked about. I fell because of what I didn't need to explain." That line stayed with me because in those early talks, he told her things he hadn't said in decades, stories from his war years, regrets as a father, fears he sometimes felt waking up alone in the dark. And she didn't try to fix anything. She didn't rush in with advice. She simply received his truth as if it mattered. That is what relationships later in life often rest on. Not shared hobbies or similar pasts, but the ability to be real, raw, and still wanted. When people talk about what men want in a woman after 60, they often overlook this. Trust isn't only about loyalty, it's about emotional risk, showing someone the pieces that feel unlovable and seeing them stay anyway. For many men, this kind of trust takes time. It's earned slowly, and once felt, it's something he never forgets. Not every connection creates this kind of space, but when a woman does, when she offers the rare permission to be fully human, something in him settles. For the first time in a long while, he feels seen. And from that kind of seeing, something gentle and meaningful begins. That level of trust stays with a man. It changes how he shows up, more open, more honest, more whole. But there's another feeling just as deep. It's not about safety or comfort, it's about how he sees himself through her eyes. There's a quote from the Roman philosopher Seneca that I've always remembered. He said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." In love, something similar happens, especially for older men. Many of them aren't afraid of being alone. They fear being invisible, or worse, being seen and quietly dismissed. That's why admiration, real admiration, touches a place deeper than most people realize. Not admiration for success or wealth or past achievements, but admiration for how he carries himself, the values that have shaped him, the steady ways he has shown up when no one was watching. At this point in life, admiration doesn't come from applause. It comes from small moments, in the way she holds his gaze when he speaks, in how she nods not to agree, but because she's truly listening. One small gesture, one simple sentence, and he feels it. Not attention, but regard. Not flattery, but respect. In those moments, something shifts inside him. Not pride, not ego, but dignity. A quiet feeling that who he is still matters, even if the rest of the world has stopped noticing. This kind of admiration doesn't inflate a man, it steadies him. It reminds him that he is not unseen, that the person he is now, not the younger version he used to be, still has worth and weight. In many senior dating conversations, this feeling is hardly mentioned. People talk about chemistry, shared interests, and matching lifestyles, but many men over 60 carry a quiet longing to be admired for who they are when no one is clapping. And when a woman offers that, she becomes more than special, she becomes cherished. So let me ask you something. Have you ever actually told someone what you respect most about them? Not what you love, not what you enjoy, but what you sincerely admire deep down. If that person is still part of your life, maybe this is the moment, or even this week, to finally say it out loud. Because sometimes a few truthful words spoken with honesty can stay in someone's heart for the rest of their life. And as we move into this final emotional truth, we step into a feeling many people confuse for weakness, when in reality it might be one of love's greatest strengths. It's something quiet, something gentle, something most people don't talk about even though they feel it deeply. I remember sitting beside a man in his late 60s at a small town diner just as the morning rush was slowing down. He was folding napkins into simple triangles while waiting for his wife, who was finishing her shift behind the counter. They had been married a little over 30 years, he said. But it was what he shared next that I still carry with me to this day. He looked up and said, "She makes me feel like I can be soft." Then he added, "I didn't even know I needed that, not until I experienced it." That one word, soft, caught me off guard. Most men never say it openly. Many don't even admit it to themselves. But over time, I've come to believe it's one of the most powerful feelings a man can experience in love, especially later in life. Not soft as in fragile, not soft as in unable, but soft as in safe enough to put the armor down, safe enough to stop pretending he has all the answers, safe enough to not always lead or control or hold everything up on his shoulders. Because after spending decades holding life together, for family, for work, for pride, something inside a man quietly longs to loosen his grip, to relax, to be cared for, not because he cannot manage life on his own, but because someone chooses to offer warmth without asking for anything in return. And when a woman makes space for that part of him, it reaches a place in his heart that nobody else has ever touched. He doesn't want fixing. He doesn't need cheering on every minute. What he truly wants is room to simply exist without performance. And when that room is given gently, it creates a kind of love that feels like a deep exhale. In relationships later in life, it's not the impressive gestures he remembers most. It's the quiet mornings when she hands him a cup of tea without needing to speak. It's the way she reaches for his hand without thinking twice. It's the silence that feels warm instead of cold. These soft moments whisper to him that he doesn't have to be anything more than who he already is. There is a simple beauty in being allowed to be tender again, to feel emotions without hiding them, to admit fears without shame, to cry even without feeling embarrassed or judged. This kind of connection doesn't only calm a man's heart, it opens it. And for many men who have spent a lifetime holding everything inside, that opening can feel like the most real and honest form of love they have ever known. You won't read much about this in common dating advice for seniors, but anyone who has felt it will tell you the same thing. Emotional softness is not proof that something is lacking. It's proof that something meaningful has finally arrived in his life. If he finds this sort of softness in a woman, not as weakness but as a welcome place to land, he doesn't need to doubt whether it's love. He knows it, he feels it, and he allows himself to let it all sink in, because for a man who has spent a lifetime staying steady, protecting, pushing through, and staying strong, this softness isn't the end of his strength, it is the reward for it. It is the moment he is finally allowed to rest without fear, not because he is surrendering or giving up, but because he is finally safe enough to be held without question. And sometimes that is all he ever truly wanted, but never had the words to ask for. When we talk about love after 60, we are not chasing fairy tales or trying to live inside a perfect story. We are looking at something real, grounded, and deeply tender. At this stage of life, love is no longer measured by excitement or fireworks or the rush of early romance. It is measured by how deeply we can feel and how honestly we can be ourselves without fear of being misunderstood. For many older men, what draws them in isn't outer beauty or charm or even long history. It is the way they feel inside when they stand next to a woman. Do they feel calm? Do they feel seen? Do they feel alive again in a quiet but steady way? Emotional safety, a sense of aliveness, trust, admiration, and emotional softness. These are not things things you read in bold prints in dating articles, but they are the quiet truths that determine whether a connection grows into something lasting or fades into memory. And here's what I've learned over and over again. When a woman naturally brings these feelings into a man's life, not to impress him and not to win him over, but simply because that is who she is, he notices. Even if he doesn't put it into words, he feels it. And even more importantly, he carries it with him. Because when a man is moved emotionally, especially in the later chapters of his life, the feeling stays with him. He might not always explain it, but he returns to it in his thoughts, in his memories, and in the way he shows up. If anything you heard today connects with your own path, I hope it stays with you like a quiet thread woven through your reflections on love, connection, and what truly matters in this season of life. And if this video brought you a bit of comfort or clarity, you are welcome to hit like, share it with someone else walking this path after 60, and subscribe to channel for more gentle insights on aging, living with intention, and finding peace inside yourself. And if you know someone who might be quietly searching for this kind of understanding, consider sending this to them. Sometimes a soft truth reaches someone exactly at the moment they need it most. Thank you for spending this time with me, and thank you for believing, even now, in the depth, grace, and quiet strength of human connection.